Hello, this is Aries once again reading number 6, the light novel, volume number 1. And we are on chapter 3. Yippee! We're on chapter 3. And yeah, I don't have anything to say, so let's just get into it. Let's just get into it. I want to know what's happening. You want to know what's happening. Let's go. Chapter 3. Flight for Life. Shion inserted his ID card into the card reader of the park administration office. The door opened soundlessly, and the air filtration system and temperature control started up. There was no one inside the office yet. It was odd that Yamase was not here already. Shion turned on the switch of the park administration system. It was the start of another workday. What is this? Good morning. An image of City Hall, the moon drop, appeared along with the greeting. Your unwavering allegiance to the city. He placed his hand on the image of the moon drop and recited slowly. I pledge hereon and ever my unwavering allegiance to the city of No. 6. Ew. Reader's note, ew. As an American, ew. Gross. Our gratitude for your loyalty. Engage in your day's labor with sincerity and pride as a good citizen of the city. The moondrop disappeared and was replaced with a report of the living conditions of all the organisms in the park. Shion breathed a sigh of relief. The daily allegiance rituals had become a source of discomfort for him. Although it was among the farthest branches, Park Administration Office was still under direct affiliation with the city. All employees were required to pledge allegiance to the city every morning. If they refused, they would lose their job. Again, ew! Ew, stinky! Ew! It was no big deal. All he had to do was cast his hand over the display and recite the same words. Shion tried to brush it aside, but the worn and banal, that there's a pronunciation of that word that I am uncomfortable with. And those words of the pledge and the sheer ridiculousness of the ritual itself always filled him with disgust. And for repeating this banal. Oh, it's banal. Oh, all right. I know that word. And for repeating this banal and ridiculous ritual every morning, Shion's injured pride stung. He remembered Safu complaining over the same thing. The laboratory where Safu worked also operated under the city, so an allegiance ritual was mandatory as well. Shion lightly blew on his palm. It was no use complaining. As long as he was to be a citizen of No. 6, as long as he was going to continue living here, it was no use fretting about pride. So he kept telling himself. The office door opened and Yamase came in. Behind him stood a woman who looked about in her 20s. Yamase called over to her softly, but she shook her head, bowed slightly, and left in a hurry. She was a small woman with long hair. I see. Shion stopped his hands over the control keys and turned to stare into Yamase's square, angular face. It's rare to see you with a woman, Yamase-san. Could she be... He went on to say your girlfriend, but promptly shut his mouth. Yamase was sitting at his control panel, reciting the Pledge of Allegiance to the city. His expression was tense. Shion could tell from his face, that this wasn't the right time for teasing. Yamase-san, is something the matter? Shion, that lady... Yamase paused and turned to Shion. She's the wife of yesterday's body. Huh? That would make them a couple of enormous age difference. No. 6 has no strict regulations for marriage as long as it was between two consenting registered citizens. Even if the couple had not gotten an official marriage certificate, it was not a problem. The problem was more with whether they would be able to prepare an appropriate child-rearing environment if they were to have children. Childbirth was not permitted for people who didn't meet the city's criteria of standards. Crazy! I would never have expected that. Xian didn't know what those criteria were. Nevertheless, people were free to marry, and a couple or two with this much age difference was nothing out of the ordinary. She says they're only 3 years apart, said Yamase quietly. Xian didn't understand. He was 3 years older than her, Yamase repeated. 3 years? But Yamase nodded. That body was only 31 years old. No way, exclaimed Xian incredulously. That can't be. That body was an elderly man, and no matter how you looked at it. Yeah, said Yamase heavily. I was surprised too, but the body hasn't come back to the what? But the body hasn't come back to the madame since. They're keeping it over at the bureau. Keep? So you're saying an autopsy wasn't enough to find out how he died? I guess that's what it means. They couldn't find the cause of death. Xian couldn't imagine the cause of death that No. 6's frontline medical technology couldn't decode. Medicine had long had full bearings on organisms and organism analysis to the nanometer scale. An average cell measured approximately 20 micrometers. A micrometer was 1,000 times larger than a nanometer. Any disease at the cellular level should be more than easy to find and analyze. Xian felt a chill. Abnormal rigor mortis, its dissipation, and the body it left that was unmistakably that of an elderly man. What did it all mean? He didn't know. At present, Yamase's low voice spoke again. The madam was told that he died from an accident in the park, and to wait for further notice until they figure out his cause of death. She came here today asking if she could at least see where the accident happened. Accident? Bullshit. You're right. It's a load of bull. Them telling her it was an accident is a huge lie, Yamase replied, and scratched his neck vigorously in irritation. Yamase-san, why does the Bureau have to lie about it? And isn't it strange that they can't seem to find the cause of death? Yeah, this incident is full of unanswered questions. If the Bureau can't explain it, could it be a cause of death that's never had any previous case? No previous cases? The man died from something that was completely unknown up till now. Something no one's experienced before. Is that possible? Xian, what are you... Yamase trailed off. His face was pale. Xian figured his own face must look the same. Let's have some coffee, shall we? Yamase suddenly stood up, as if he could bear the tense atmosphere no longer. Xian hastily stood up after him. Oh, No, I'll do it. You like lots of milk in yours, right, Xian? Thanks. Xian paused. So... But anyone could look at the body and tell it wasn't an accident, right? Yamase turned toward him. His usual gentle face was strangely contorted. Yamase-san? Xian, bodies can be modified. Huh? Yamase stammered. Before I started working here, I used to work at the municipal central hospital. My job was to modify dead bodies. Modify? What do you mean? I wasn't planning on telling this to anyone, but... Yamase hesitated. Xian, have you ever seen a dead body before? Once, at a funeral for my grandfather on my mother's side, I saw his body in a coffin at the viewing. How was it? How? He looked peaceful. Don't they all look like that? You think so? Are you saying they don't? Medical technology had made enormous progress, not only in the fields of disease treatment and prevention, but also in the removal of pain. Technology of the present day could remove anything, whether it be from accident or illness, ranging anywhere from pain during surgery to breathing trouble, severe pain, and seizures experienced in the moments leading up to death. People ended their lives free of suffering, and all died with peaceful expressions on their face. That was what Shion had been told. Yamase handed him a cup of coffee. He lowered his gaze and bent his neck to scratch it, as if to avoid Shion's gaze. All of this about frontline medical technology goes right over my head, Yamase said slowly. But all I know is that no matter how much technology develops, it's impossible for everyone to die a peaceful death. That much I'm sure of. Yamase's face contorted even more. The hand which had held his own mug trembled slightly. I worked for a long time in the basement of the central hospital. My job was to modify the bodies that were brought in. Yamase-san, so what's this about modifying bodies? It's an easy job. When the body's been confirmed dead and brought down, it would cost its face... What? I would coat its face with a special chemical and cover it with this apparatus. And then... Then it would smile. All of them did. They would all look like they were having some wonderful dream. Shion almost let out a cry. It was just as Yamase had said. He was 9 years old when he saw his deceased grandfather's face, and he had been smiling. It's almost like he's having a... What? Oh, okay. It's almost like he's having a wonderful dream, he remembered his mother whispering through her tears. Of course, Yamase continued, the majority of people that die don't need to be modified. They're all people that have been able to get proper palliative, I've never heard that word before, interesting, palliative care, and have really died a peaceful death. But it's still only a majority, not the entire population. There are a small number of people, though, that die tragically, their faces all stiffened up in pain. For example? Huh? What kind of people die like that, Yamase-san? Yamase exhaled shortly and drained the rest of his coffee. I don't know. My job was only to coat the faces with the chemical and cover them with the apparatus. I didn't know why these people had to die with such suffering and sadness on their faces, and no one would tell me. He paused. But there was this one time a middle-aged man was brought in. I usually have to wipe the face before applying the chemical, and I noticed that the man had tear streaks on his face, and I thought maybe he'd been crying right up until he died. I wondered if he'd been crying the whole time while he was dying. And then I just had this thought that maybe this man had killed himself. Killed himself? A citizen of the city? You think it's impossible? Yamase asked flatly. Of all causes of death in the last 10 years, suicide has only been 0.05%, and most have been impulse cases due to temporary psychosis, so they technically don't even fall into that criteria, according to the city's statistics anyway. According to what the city has published as statistics, yes, Yamase rephrased. Despair did not exist in No. 6. All citizens led a secure and hospitable life. There was no starvation, no war, no anguish, not even any pain in the moments leading up to death. You guys have been programmed to think this holy mess is the ideal utopia. Nezumi had spat these words out 4 years earlier. Now, Shion was experiencing its reality word for word. Lost Town was full of people who had abandoned hope. They had enough to eat and enough to keep living, but they had no hopes for the future. Lost Town wasn't the only place. Maybe the same could be said for Kronos. How many people could die with a smile on their face and say they've lived a fulfilling life? Yamase-san, are you saying that the Bureau is manipulating information? Shion, Yamase warned, knitting his brow and shaking his head violently. Don't say stuff like that out loud. We've been hired by the city. We've pledged allegiance. We shouldn't be talking about our suspicions. I don't know what's gotten into me. Forget everything I said. Just forget it. All right, Shion replied uncertainly. Right then. Let's get Sampo and the rest moving. Where were the main regions today? Areas JK02 and ER005, mainly cleaning up foliage. Alright, let's get to work. Right you are. They began to tap the control keys for the robots. Yamase gave a short grunt of pain. Yamase-san? It's nothing. It's just my fingers are strange. Hurt? No. It's like they feel stiff. He stood up unsteadily and then suddenly crumpled to the floor, his face in his hands. Oh, you're all right? My eyes! I can't see. They're blurry. In the midst of reaching out to support Yamase, Shion froze. He couldn't move. Yamase's hair was turning white. Spots were beginning to spread over the hands that covered his face. Shion, what's happening to me? Frozen in horror, Shion reached as Yamase aged with astonishing speed before him. He curled up as he lay on the ground, and his back contracted in violent spasms. He was having trouble breathing. Shion lunged for the emergency intercom. We have an emergency! An ambulance, please, quickly! Yamase coughed weakly. What was happening? What was going on? Shion couldn't believe what was unfolding before him. Everything seemed surreal. His mind was in a panic. He didn't know what to do, how to deal with it. But still another part of him remained unsettlingly calm. Observe, analyze, watch. Don't take your eyes off him. Take in everything you can and absorb it as knowledge. Shion swallowed and lifted Yamase in his arms. After a few weak spasms, Yamase's body was still. Yamase-san? His face was unmistakably that of an old man, and it was no longer that of one who was living. Shion checked his pulse and pupils. Yamase's body grew colder by the minute. His mouth was open as if in astonishment, like the man from yesterday. Shion, how could this happen? I can't believe it. Shion could almost imagine those words tumbling out of his parted lips. I have to close his eyes, at least. Shion pressed his fingers to Yamase's eyelids. They didn't close. Rigor mortis had already begun to take its course. Shion crouched beside Yamase, clenched his fists, and continued staring at his colleague, with whom he was having a conversation only moments before. Feelings of fear, sorrow, or pain were curiously absent. It was as if all his feelings had gone numb. Observe, analyze, watch. Don't take your eyes off of him. Take in everything you can and absorb it as knowledge. And memorize it. Memorize. Cessation? That's just cessation. Okay. Cessation of respiratory and cardiovascular activity. Decrease in body temperature, rigor mortis, death spots, dissipation of rigor mortis, post-mortem pneumonia that usually took dozens of hours were taking place in a mere 16 minutes. It was as if he was watching a film on fast forward. Shion watched, unmoving, his eyes wide open, biting his lip in concentration. He could predict what was going to happen next. He was sweating. A warm bead of perspiration slid from his temple down his cheek. Its heat reassured him that he was still alive. Living people are warm. You were right, Nezumi. People are warm because they're alive. 4 years ago, you knew this. A stain appeared on Yamase's neck. It was dark green, almost black. Shion bit his lip harder, the taste of blood spreading inside his mouth. There it was. It was starting. What was previously unknown, what no one had ever experienced before. He leaned forward. The stain moved. The skin over that portion swelled slightly and stirred. I don't want to read this. I don't want to read this. Oh, this is nasty. Guys, if you haven't read the trigger warnings for number 6, I'm pretty sure they're out there somewhere, but this is gonna be pretty nasty, I think. I believe this is gonna be pretty nasty. Of the insect variety. If you haven't seen the anime or haven't taken in any number 6 content before. I like to block this out of my brain. Okay. Moving on. A buzzer went off. Sampo was sending an indistinguishable object signal, oblivious to the changes that were happening in the office. It seemed like Sampo and the rest were going about their cleaning duties as usual. Shion ignored it. He had no attention to spare. All the nerves in his body were focused on the stain. His eyes were glued to it, and he couldn't break his gaze. Shion let out a muffled cry of horror. He clutched his chest and felt his own heartbeat thudding against his palm. He jumped back. An insect had eaten its way out from under the skin of Yamase's neck and was wriggling to get free. It was the same color as the stain it had come out of. It had thin silvery wings, 6 legs, antennae, and a needle-like ovipositor. A bee. A bee had just eaten its way out of a human body. How could that? The insect took flight. He followed it with his gaze and saw the medical bureau's ambulance pull up in front of the office. A sudden darkness veiled his eyes. He was fainting from shock. The black insect was darting around in his darkened vision. Shion groaned and curled up on the floor. Shion awoke to a blinding light stabbing at his eye. He heard a quiet male voice speak. Awake? Light was streaming through the window, and the man had his back to it. His face was thrown in shadow. The shadow spoke again. Get up. I have something to ask you. It was a voice he'd heard before. Shion came to, and noticed he was lying on the office sofa. Yamase, wrapped in a white cloth, was being carried out of the room. It seemed like he had fainted for only a few minutes. Yamase-san. Shion called out the name of his colleague almost without thinking. Yamase's smiling face crossed his mind. Fragmented memories. How he loved coffee and drank several cups of it a day. His quiet demeanor, his habit of sheepishly looking at his feet, all at once burst forth in his mind. They weren't particularly close. To Shion, he was just a senior colleague. He had never confided in Yamase, nor had they ever had a deeply personal conversation. But Shion had liked Yamase. Yamase never intruded unheeded into anyone's personal space, but that didn't mean he was disinterested. He was a good person, but he was no more. Yamase-san. His eyes began to sting. He was tapped lightly on the shoulder. Let's get emotional later, shall we? The man spoke lazily and without emotion. Shion's heart jumped unpleasantly. Can you explain the situation to us? This voice, these words, he had heard them before. It's been a while, hasn't it? It's so nice to see you still remember me. It was Rashi, the interrogations officer from the security bureau. He had the same gentle tongue and unsmiling eyes as 4 years before. You'll tell us everything you know, won't you? Shion found himself nodding automatically. He could feel his mind begin to unravel slowly. His head and body felt heavy, and his own voice sounded as if it was coming from far away. This is bad. A warning signal sounded in the corner of his mind, but he couldn't regulate himself as well as he could yesterday. Each question that Rashi asked dragged words forth helplessly from his mouth. A bee? Rashi furrowed his brow. He gazed around the room and cocked his head to one side in perplexity. There was no insect, bee or otherwise, to be found in the room. I'm not buying it. Check Yamase-san's neck. There should be a scar. He swallowed his words. There should be a scar. There should have been one. The same on the neck of the man yesterday. The Bureau had investigated that body as an unnatural death. There was no way they could have overlooked it. They had noticed, but they had told his bereaved wife that it was an accident. They didn't want the real cause of death to be known. That was what it boiled down to. Xian turned his head to the side as if to avoid Rashi's gaze. He had spoken too much. He had divulged everything he knew, which might have been something that the Bureau intended never to reach outside ears. Classified information that they were intent on covering up. If that was the case, you specialize. Why can't I say specialize? Specialize. You specialize. No. I missed a word too. You used to specialize in ecology, correct? I intended to, but I never did. I have nothing to do with it now. And were you interested in the biology of insects as well? Ecology encompasses everything that has to do with interactions of species with their environment. Period. Insects weren't the only thing that I was interested in. Ah, is that so? And specifically, what do you mean in terms of relationship between organisms and their environment? Well, Xian could feel himself breaking into a cold sweat. A thin smile played on Rashi's lips while he spoke, his words light, his tone conversational, but his gaze never left Xian once. 2 officials of the Security Bureau came in. One of them whispered in Rashi's ear momentarily. One of them whispered into Rashi's ear. Momentarily, Rashi spoke. I hope you won't mind coming down to the Security Bureau for a bit. Huh? It's nothing really. We just want to hear more of your story. It'll be over in minutes. I promise we won't take much of your time if you come with us. A buzzer sounded. Sampo was sending an indistinguishable object error. I'm sorry. I have to operate the cleaning robots. Put them away. In any case, you won't get much work done today. Xian ignored him. He minimized the error display and switched over to the camera. A small gray mouse appeared on the screen. It was scurrying up and down Sampo's arm. Its mouth was wide open, and it was mouthing something incessantly. Xian brought the earphones to his ear and turned on the sound sensor. Xian, Nezumi's voice flowed through him. Get out of there. You're in trouble. What? Get out. Click. He heard the sound behind him. Xian turned and found himself staring down a pair of gun barrels. He couldn't distinguish what model they were, but he knew that these were no high-tech stun guns. No, none of that sort. They were older models, highly effective in the kill. Sport hunting hobbyists like to use these kind of guns. Xian slowly flicked Sampo's speaker switch on. Now Nezumi's end would be able to hear his voice. Are you forcing me under arrest? I guess you could call it something like that. Regardless, you're coming with us. Don't you need a reason to arrest me? A reason? None of that. But if you insist, your bicycle, perhaps. My bike? You were using a bicycle without speed limiters. That's a breach of the law, and more than enough reason to put you under arrest. Fucking bitch. What? How? For such a ridiculous reason, without even going through the proper procedures? Using violence? Is this how you arrest a citizen of the city? What happens to my rights? A citizen? Rights? Rashi sneered. A violent chill ran down Xian's spine. You really think you have any of those? He could hear Nezumi click his tongue. Guess I didn't make it in time. Xian exhaled and began shutting down the operating system. Just before it turned off, he heard Nezumi's short message ring out clearly. Xian, don't panic. I'm coming to help you. Oh, bitch! that is the end of part A. Oh my god, I need to process this. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so fucking excited. Okay, yeah, cool. I'm gonna let the dog in. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I am literally just recording. It doesn't matter. I'm not live. Okay, okay, 1 second. Okay, part B. Part B. Let's go. Okay, it's fine. I'm just excited. I'm just a little excited. Okay. He was right. Don't panic. Calm down. Be of sound mind. He had to buy more time. Shion relented. Please don't use any violence on me. We won't, of course, as long as you cooperate with us. It wouldn't be any use to retaliate anyway. Who is saying this? It wouldn't be any use to retaliate anyway, would it? It is your policy. No, what is it? Is it your policy not to take useless action? There's a good lad. He knows what he's talking about. It's a waste, really. A waste? What is? For you. I don't understand what you're talking about. You'll know in good time. You've always been smart and quick to understand, like you were 4 years ago. Flanked by 2 bureau officials, Shion climbed into the car. Above them was an expanse of clear blue autumn sky. The sun was bright. The birds were chirping. A gentle breeze blew past them. Times of peace and tranquility they were. The car glided forward. Nice weather today, commented Rashi from the passenger seat without turning around. The official sitting on Shion's right side nodded in response. It looks like we've been having more warmer days than usual lately. Rashi turned to Shion and smiled. And yourself? Do you have a car? No. I usually take my bike or walk. That's a good thing. Young people like you need to move their bodies more. By the way, what we're riding right now is a battery-operated car. Quite comfortable, don't you think? Excellent, I would think, if it wasn't for the situation I'm in right now. Shion replied sarcastically, in means of retaliation. It was the best he could muster. Rashi shrugged lightly. As I was saying, this car runs on fuel cell batteries. Any idea how they work? We aren't too well versed in the scientific side of things, I'm afraid. I don't know much either. What sort of things do you know about? Not much. I mean, I don't really have a lot of scientific knowledge. The officials on both sides of him moved at once. He was grabbed firmly by the arms. Rashi's tone changed to that of an interrogator. Then tell us what you do know. Like I said, what I know, it's all just general knowledge. Such as? The conversation was short, clipped and void of frivolity, but Shion felt a sort of strangling heaviness about it. He felt like someone was choking him slowly with a soft, damp piece of cloth. He felt nauseous. So, through electrolytes, alcohol is separated into oxygen and hydrogen, and by fusing them together again, energy is what? Where are we going? Shion asked suddenly. He rose, but was yanked back and shoved into the seat. Aren't we going to the security bureau? This isn't the way. The bureau was located beside City Hall. From the park administration office, one only had to cut through the park to get there. By car, it was a few minutes' distance, but the scenery out the window showed him the car was heading in the opposite direction. Where do you think we're going? That's what I'm asking you right now, said Shion testily. You're not entitled to ask any questions. What? How could you? Why? Haven't I told you? You're the top suspect in the case. In this case. What case? The death that happened today, and the other one from yesterday. You're on suspicion of murder. Shion had lost his voice. He could hear the rush of blood in his ears as it receded from his face. You're a dangerous suspect. You have extensive knowledge and an intelligent brain to put to use. I could tell just from our conversation. And to top it off, you're dissatisfied with your situation and feel a strong resistance against the city, superior ability and hostility towards the city. Take either one, and they aren't afraid of concern. But what? Take either one, and they aren't of concern by the. Oh, okay. Take either one, and they aren't concern by themselves. God. But you have both. Dangerous indeed. Those are false accusations. False? I beg to differ. Rashi's hand extended to a silver button beside the steering wheel. Shion's and Yamase's voice began to play from the speakers. Yamase-san, why does the Bureau have to lie about it? And isn't it strange that they can't seem to find a cause of death? Yeah, the incident is full of unanswered questions. Shion closed his eyes. It was the conversation they had had only minutes ago. They were being taped the whole time. Had a microphone been hidden in the control panel? But for what purpose? Yamase-san, are you saying that the Bureau is manipulating information? Shion! Rashi pressed the button lightly again. The voices were cut off. For a moment, a cold silence fell in the car, as if the very air had frozen over. Care to hear a little more? Please, stop. I can't believe this. Can't you? I didn't kill anyone, said Shion flatly. So you're saying that this bee that you were talking about is the real murderer? Yes. Preposterous. A rather contrived story for someone of your intelligence. What reason do I have to kill Yamase-san? That's what we're going to figure out. My guess is that you wanted to start a commotion. Huh? A commotion. You wanted to start a huge one, enough to shake the very roots of the city and bask in its glory. You must have regarded yourself as some kind of genius fallen upon ill fortune, haven't you? So you loathe the city for not favoring you as you deserved, and felt hatred towards its citizens. You believed you deserved more attention, so you thought of this method of murder and unnatural death to take society by storm. You had the medical and biological knowledge to do it. It was very well possible that you used some kind of special chemical to commit murder. He is. Oh no. Shion sank deeply into the car seat. All energy had left his body. He realized it was a trap. He had walked right into its cunning grasp. He licked his lips. They were parched and dry. I see, he said coolly. So it's all been scripted already. Rather contrived story yourself. Maybe even more than mine. We'll see how contrived. Is it contrived or contrived? I think it might be contrived. Sorry, I'm tripping myself up over that. We'll see how contrived it is once we get through questioning you. There was a metallic clang. The official on Shion's left had handcuffed him. There's a transmitter in those, and it lets us know where you are. When we get there, you'll get to take them off. Rashi's words gave Shion an idea of where he was going. The West Block. The correctional facility. If he was undergoing investigation there, he was sure to be locked up right afterwards as a convict. In exchange for removing his handcuffs, he would have a V-chip implanted into him. Nazumi, it's too late. I can't get away. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. There's a good lad. Keep quiet. Shion remained slumped and bit his dry bottom lip. I'm coming to help you. Nezumi's voice echoed in his ears. His heart grew calm. His legs trembled, though not from fear or despair. Not from despair or fear, but rage. Rage at the people who had tricked him. Nezumi's voice kept that rage afloat. The car entered Lost Town. Mom. Are you worried about your mother? My mother? What'll happen to her? Happen? Nothing. She won't be stripped of her citizenship just because her son is a convict. Rashi whispered something to the driver. The car veered to the right. A familiar scenery of the streets came into view. The car stopped silently at the curb. Look. Rashi pointed. Karan was in the midst of handling a small girl a wrapped loaf of bread. She said something to her, and the girl nodded. Both Karen and the girl were smiling. Enveloped in the amber light of the autumn, the two looked as if they were part of a painting or a scene from a drama. Shion leaned forward. Your mother looks like a gentle lady. Get a good look at her while you can. Rashi motioned with his chin, and the guard began to move. You may never see her again. Rashi chuckled with his back to Shion. It's nothing to be so troubled about. Sure, at first your mother will be shocked, and she'll feel sad, but she'll get over it. That's how life is. Well, it's not like anything would come of you worrying about her anyway. Soon you'll find you'll have things more serious to worry about. Rashi's words sliced at Shion's heart. His breath caught in his throat. The rage and rebellion simmering inside him slowly began to dissipate. He would never be able to return to his normal life again. He had been separated from it forever. Seeing his mother etched the feeling of despair deeper into him. They had calculated it all. They didn't stop the car near Shion's house out of pity for him. They had done it to deal him the final blow. The blow that knocked him down and told him, give up, lose hope, you're never going back again. It was a cunning and cruel trick to make him lose the will to retaliate. I'm coming to help you. I'm coming to help you. Shion opened his mouth and repeated the words to himself. I'm coming to help you. Just a short sentence, but Nezumi's voice had been steady with confidence. What did he look like again? He wondered, and tried to visualize Nezumi's face. He could only remember a pair of light gray eyes. Will I see you soon, Nezumi? What's that? Rashi turned around and furrowed his brows. Are you smiling? Smiling? Of course not, Jian replied. I don't have the courage to smile in this kind of situation. In this situation, huh? You seem rather calm about it. I hope you do understand exactly what kind of situation you're in right now. Almost too well. Aren't you calm and collected in spite of that? I'm a natural. At what? A natural, Shion repeated. I've been told that by someone once. That I'm a natural at not getting it. Rashi stared at Shion in silence. The car was exiting Lost Town and approaching the western border. It was Shion's first time here, because regular citizens were not allowed to enter into this area. Number 6 was a citadel. What? What does that mean? It literally explains. Number 6 was a citadel. A wall made of special alloy circled the city and enclosed it. In most parts of the city, the wall was camouflaged with trees, but in the West Block, it stood bare. The car bypassed the access control office. Aren't you going to enter the West Block from here? There are 2 gates. That one was for entering and exiting the city. The other one is especially for entering the correctional facility. It leads directly into it. The correctional facility is a special kind of facility, even in the West Block. We keep it completely isolated from all general citizens. I bet you didn't know that. No, I didn't. You'll find out even more soon enough. The path narrowed. An increasing number of trees blocked the sunlight. Once we're through the woods, there will be nothing but wastelands. Past the gates, it'll be the same. It'll probably be the last time you see any greenery, so I advise you to engrave it into your memory well. The car stopped. What's the matter? Rashi asked. It's just... The driver pointed to something in front of them. A silver-colored lump was laying across the middle of the road. Slowly, it raised itself. Sampo? Shion swallowed. What's this? What's a cleaning robot doing here? Maybe it has orders to clean the forest area. I haven't heard anything about it. Sampo was scooping up fallen leaves with his metal arms. Keep an eye on the suspect, Rashi ordered the officials, and got out of the car. He approached Sampo. Sampo swayed, its arms grabbing a hold of Rashi. Clinging to him, it fell forward. Rashi gave a short cry and was dragged by Sampo to the ground amongst the trees. Ah! The driver raised his own voice in surprise and opened the door to lean forward. The next moment, two small shadows darted into the car. They were two gray mice. In a flash, they each latched into the throat. What? In a flash, they each latched onto the throat of the bureau official. Don't move, a low voice commanded. A person slid into the passenger seat. A gray cloth covered his head and was wrapped around his shoulders. From them, a brown mouse sprang onto the base of the driver's neck. If you're hearing clicking noises, by the way, that is my dog pacing around the room because it is almost time for FOOD. But it's not quite time yet. All right. Okay, I'm so excited about this. What am I speaking? What is going on? Oh my god, okay. These guys have small bombs planted in their bodies. Try anything funny and you can count on your heads being blown off. The driver whimpered in terror. Take his handcuffs off, and the three of you, get out of the car. No one moved. Quickly, he ordered sharply. I'm impatient. Do you want me to set them off? There was a metallic sound from the mice that were lashed onto each throat. Click, click, click. The handcuffs fell from Shion's wrists. The three men tumbled out of the car, bleeding at the neck. Nezumi! Greetings later. Nezumi gripped the steering wheel. The car spun around in a U-turn and hurled down the road at full speed. Nezumi, are you really going to make them explode? You idiot. You think I would plant bombs into my faithful friends? That was just to scare them. Were those robot mice? They looked just like the real thing. And Sampo, how did you... Shut up, Nezumi growled. He yanked the cloth off his head and threw it to the back seat. Wrap that over your head and stay curled up. Is this superfiber? Why do I have to wrap up in this? Because I'm going to crash it. Crash what? The car. Wait, what? Why? Nezumi's fist pounded the steering wheel. Just shut up, all right. Is asking questions all you're good for? But we can just escape with the car. I was planning to, but... But what? It went too well. They were approaching the wall that separated the west block from number 6. The car showed no signs of slowing down. It shouldn't have been this easy to rescue you. Really? You're naturally dense. You wouldn't know. It doesn't get any more dangerous than when something's gone too well. That's why we're going to dump this thing. When I tell you to, wrap up in that cloth and jump out of the car. I'm going to crash it. How about you? I'm used to this kind of thing. No need for the dense boy to worry about me. I can't just leave you. The wall was looming closer. Get out. Open the door, Nezumi yelled. Almost simultaneously, the tires screamed as the car screeched to a halt. Shion's body floated up. The next minute, he was being slammed back against the seat. If it weren't for the shock-absorbing material, he probably would have broken a few bones. Damn it! Nezumi kicked the door hard. It didn't move. Is it the automatic brake system? Shion winced at his bruised shoulder as he asked. I disabled that a long time ago. I disabled the alarm system, the collision sensor system, everything. This car is being controlled remotely, Nezumi said angrily. A chuckle resounded through the interior of the car. It was Rashi's voice. I won't have you underestimate the security bureau. The car that you boys are riding is actually an escort cruiser, though you might not have noticed. It's not something you can control so easily. Nezumi swore. I didn't know you had an accomplice. That was something I didn't expect. It was quite the spectacle, very impressive. Why don't we have a nice talk and I can hear all about it? The car changed directions and began to move on its own. Rather quiet, hmm? Can your friend not talk? Or does talking pose some kind of problem? Your voice samples must be in the system, which means you have a criminal record. I think you're talking a bit too much. Nezumi's hands moved swiftly. I'm sorry, but I don't have time for pointless conversations with the old men. Nezumi moved to the back seat and pushed Shion down. Duck and get under the cloth. Hold on tight. Hey, what are you doing? There was a note of panic in Reshe's voice. See you, old man. Say goodbye to your high-tech escort cruiser, too. What? There was a blast. A wave of impact slammed into them. Get out! A short command burst at Shion's ear. The door opened. A gust of hot air swept over them. Outside. I have to get outside. Shion screwed his eyes shut and leapt into the outside world. He hit the ground and rolled. Behind him, he heard an enormous explosion. The car was on its side, its wheels in the air, spinning helplessly. Good job, Nezumi whistled. You rolled pretty well for someone with such a big head. Not hurt, are you? I scraped my arm pretty badly. You? I told you. I'm used to this. What did you do? I destroyed the steering system. How? Sorry, I'm just checking if the recording's still going up. Okay, we're fine. Escort cruisers might be durable on the outside, but they're delicate on the inside. As long as you set it up in the right place, any small bomb will put it right to sleep. You seem to know a lot about it. Like I said, I'm used to this. Right now, right now, get out of, right now to get out of here. Can you run? Of course. They emerged from the woods to see several security bureau cars approaching in the distance. The area had probably been put under emergency alert. Throw your ID card away, Nezumi ordered quietly. Hurry up. There's no time to waste. That thing is only going to be a danger to us. Shion knew. His ID card carried all his personal information, and it was connected to and stored in the city's administration computer system. The computer could instantly pull up his latest information or pinpoint his location from the weak radio waves that his card emitted. Carrying his ID card was like waving a large flag and telling everyone where he was. It was a dangerous device for anyone who was on the run, in hiding, or aiming to go underground. Nezumi was telling him to throw it away, but once let go, he would never be able to get it back again. He would be throwing his whole life in No. 6 away. A card was needed for everything from shopping, bill payments, and communication to entering and exiting the workplace or school and using public transportation. Those who couldn't prove their citizenship in the city were not allowed to live there. Throw it away, Nezumi repeated in the same low voice. If he didn't toss it, there was no chance for them to escape. But if he did, he would never be able to return. The pair of gray eyes were fixed on him. They were neither clouded in panic nor glinting in challenge. They were calm and unreadable. Shion let go of his ID card. The gray mouse appeared, picked up the card in its mouth, and disappeared again into the undergrowth, I bet. He'll get rid of it for us. That should keep the Bureau busy for a while, trying to find our location. Not much of a distraction, but it should buy us some time. Let's go. The security bureau car turned right and disappeared into the forest. It had picked up the radio waves emitted by the ID card. They ran in the opposite direction. Hurry! Once the Bureau switches to the satellite surveillance system, they'll be able to see everything on land. We have to get away while they're still on the tail of that ID card. Where? How? Well, for starters, we'll use that. A small truck was parked up against a beech tree. It was a park administration truck. A cleaning robot was located on the back. Sampo. No, that's Ippo. Yeah. They said they wanted to help you and wouldn't listen. So I brought them along. They ended up being pretty useful. The truck began to move. Nezumi, this area's probably under high alert now. If we keep hanging around here without a card, they'll find us out. We have a card. Where? He has it. Nezumi jerked his chin at Ippo. Ippo? Oh, right. Robots were also required to be registered within the city. Robots like Ippo and Sampo, which were used by city organizations, were registered in detail according to their various uses and implanted with a chip. His chip should get us through the inspection system. But Ippo's chip only shows that he's a cleaning robot. If he's found roaming an area that has nothing to do with it, they'll get suspicious. We're roaming an area that has everything to do with it. Huh? They were approaching a pair of silver gates. The moment they passed through, they would be automatically scanned, and if the contents of the chip deemed them unfit to pass, the gates would close and the truck would be forced to a halt. The truck sped through the gates without slowing down. The hazard lamps at the gate remained unlit. Shion let out a breath. Nezumi chuckled. Don't get worked up just yet. This is only the beginning. Sorry, I'm not used to this kind of thing. You'll get used to it in no time. Then you can sit back and enjoy the ride. This really isn't really my idea of enjoyable, Shion muttered. Oh, really? The look on your face says you're enjoying it quite a bit. Shion sighed deeply again and gazed at Nezumi's profile. Admiring my good looks? No, I just noticed you've gotten taller. So have you. It's been 4 years. 4 years is a long time. Gotta expect some changes. It would be unnatural not to have changed at all. 4 years was a long time. For Shion, it was long and turbulent, but compared to the dizzying events of these past few hours, he felt like they were the most peaceful days of his life. A weariness overcame his body. Nezumi smirked. So, have you noticed? What? I'm taller than you. Lies, Shion objected. It's the truth. What have you been eating? You're like a twig. I don't know how you would be able to get naked in front of your lover with a body like that. Huh? Unprompted, but okay. Jeez. Jeez, Nezumi. What the fuck, bro? What the fuck? That's none of your business, Shion replied irritably. Have you even seen me naked? Don't go making things up. Huh? Wait. What if I said I have? The cloth wrapped around Nezumi's shoulders shook as he continued to laugh. Shion had treated a wound on that same shoulder 4 years before. Those shoulders were now broader and more muscled. His once long hair was shorter, just covering his ears, and his jawline and neck were still slender, but not pitifully thin. He carried no remnant of the weakness that stirred Shion's protective instinct 4 years ago. Nezumi, have you been keeping watch on me? What are you talking about? Said Nezumi innocently. Don't play dumb. You appeared right there as if you knew this was going to happen to me. What's going on? Were you keeping me under surveillance? No, don't think too highly of yourself. I don't have that kind of time on my hands. Then explain why. You're always like this, aren't you? Nezumi said. You can't take any action unless you understand everything in your head. You need an explanation and interpretation for everything. What do you know? Well, he's angry. What do you know? Shion replied angrily. Don't act like you know everything about me. I need to find out why this happened. What's going on? What's going to happen? I can't move in this confused state. The truck came to a halt. Shion was grabbed by the collar and shaken violently. You're going to move, Nezumi hissed. Don't ever let me hear you whining about not being able to move again. Those guys don't see us as human beings. They can get rid of us as easily as crushing an ant under their feet. You remember that. Shion caught his breath and stared into Nezumi's face. His words clicked into place like puzzle pieces. Right? You think you really... Oh, this is frustrating. Right? You really think you have any of those? The Security Bureau's investigation officer, Rashi, had said those words, not moving a muscle on his face. What he had said in meaning was that he could dispose of Shion as easily as stepping on an ant. Wipe him off the face of the earth. Get out. Nezumi opened the door. We're walking from here. The vacated truck made a U-turn and slowly coasted along the way that they had come. It had switched to autopilot and was returning to the park administration office. On its loading deck sat Ippo, and for a moment it looked like its head was bowed in dejection. They were standing inside what doubled as a waste disposal plant and refuse-derived fuel (RDF) factory. Here, all the garbage gathered from the city was sorted into those to be turned into RDF, those to be forwarded to other recycling facilities, and those to be discarded as waste. 80% of No. 6's energy supply came from solar power. In Kronos, every house was equipped with solar panels and its own thermal storage system. In Lost Town, however, it was more common to use the cheaper RDFs. RDFs were blocks of solid fuel, about the size of an adult thumb. Once burned, they emitted a faint old odor which blanketed its town. See, it would be no problem getting into a waste disposal plant with the cleaning robot's chip. If it had been a nursing robot or pet robot, they would not have been able to pass. Nezumi, was this all part of your plan when you brought Ippo with them along? More questions. Nezumi's shoulders hunched slightly in exasperation, his back to Shion, who trailed behind. Shion noticed that there was now a gray mouse sitting on Nezumi's shoulder. If I had them with me, I wouldn't look suspicious driving around the city. The inspection system wouldn't catch me as long as I was heading west in the direction of the waste disposal plant. They were pretty useful, I'll say. The transport truck was kind of slow, which pissed me off. But those old guys took a detour to your house, right? That brought me a little time. But I would have... Okay. But I would have wanted to get away on the security bureau's car, Nezumi sighed. Well, that just shows you can't get everything you want. Watch it. Things are gonna get a little rough from here. Huh? There was an explosion. Shion turned to see a cloud of white smoke. Nezumi furrowed his brow. The truck got destroyed at the gate. Which means Ippo's chip and read was read, and... Yeah, they must have sent out a destruction order to all the gates. It's because we left that other robot behind. They figured us out. So Ippo and Sampo were both gone. Shion was suddenly grabbed by the wrist. They'll find out soon They'll find out soon that we're in here. We're going to make a run for it. Hurry. His grip was so strong that Shion's fingers began to go numb. Nezumi, it hurts. Shut up. Keep close to me. I get it. Let go. You're going to break my wrist. He heard Nezumi tisk in frustration. That's the problem with delicate little boys like you. I'm not a delicate little boy, Shion said indignantly. I'm different from 4 years ago. Are you? You know, you can be really irritating sometimes. You might get killed at any time. You understand that, right? Yeah. Lies. I'm not lying. Nezumi's tone grew harsh. Then what was that face back there, huh? Why can I not say his line? It's okay. I got it. Then what was that face back there, huh? Is this the time to be feeling sorry for those robots? You don't understand anything. You're just an oblivious little boy. Nezumi's fingers dug in harder. The grip on his wrist tightened painfully. Shion gritted his teeth and bore it silently. He couldn't stand to let himself whimper pitifully after all that Nezumi had said. Nezumi's fingers withdrew from his wrist. Keep up with me if you don't want to die. Stay close no matter what. Nezumi broke into a run. The waste disposal plant was deserted. There were surveillance cameras scattered throughout, but most were older models and didn't seem to be doing their job very well. Shion guessed that they probably didn't need them because no one would think of sneaking into the waste disposal plant in the first place. Nevertheless, Nezumi combed the path cautiously as he searched for a route that kept them out of view of the cameras. An enormous funnel-shaped disposal machine was giving off a steady hum. Waste that could neither be recycled nor used as fuel were turned into dry chips here to be sent to the incinerator. Wastewater dripped from the spout of the machine. Wastewater dripped from the spout of the machine into the pool below. The water flowed slowly toward the filtration facilities outside. It was murky, like a river after a bout of heavy rain. But in this river there were no living things. As they descended the stairs and drew closer to the water, an acrid smell assaulted Shion's nose. The floor beneath their feet was coated in slime, and threatened to trip him up at any time. Nezumi stopped and tossed something at Shion. Goggles? Yes, they have infrared sensors, so you should be able to see even in this water. In here? Nezumi pointed at the sewage. Happen to like scuba diving? So we're diving in here, huh? That we are. Shion took a deep breath. The odor filled his lungs. Without another word, he put on the goggles. Wow, you're picking up quickly, Nezumi remarked in mild amusement. I thought you'd whine and stamp your feet. I don't want to die, said Shion firmly. I'm not going to be stepped on like an ant. I'll do anything if it'll save me, and that includes diving into wastewater too. Nezumi turned to Shion and gave him a slight smile. Then follow me. Of course. The low hum of the machine stopped. The ceiling lights lit up at once. The sound of footsteps could be heard above them. They're coming. Nezumi extended a hand to the Nezumi extended a hand to the river of sewage. A mouse scurried down it and leapt into the water. He'll be our navigator. Try not to splash. Get into the water slowly. Shion did as he was told. He sucked in a deep breath before going in. Just before he hit the water, an image of his mother's face crossed his mind. End of chapter 3. God damn. God damn. Oh, this is too good. Okay, you can hear the dog crying. He wants some food. But yeah, damn. I do not remember how he got away in the anime. I do not remember I'm pretty sure they shortened it and did all this nonsense in the anime, but oh man, reliving that is so good. And Shion is so, I don't know, he's got more balls in this. He's still a little like city boy, but he's got more balls in this in the novel than, because the way I remember him in the anime was just like pretty meek and mellow. Like, yeah, he was trying to do stuff, but he couldn't really, and he was having crisis and blah blah blah. But he like I kind of believe in him in this. I believe him in this. And Nezumi, god damn, he's so much more sassy. I feel like he's so much more like, he's pretty cocky. I love that. I love that so much. All right, well, I'm going to go feed the dogs. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next chapter. Bye.